equipment. We do it before and after.
Mm-hmm.
We get to take precautions. And,
prayers and just making
right.
sure whether the other half of that is doing things for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
In other words, like if we follow the proper etiquette, the ways of etiquette, not etiquette, the proper ways of protocols
Yes.
for what's decent and right and proper, then we don't have the bull crap that other societies always deal with, that you always hear them complaining about.
Right.
And I see it all the time. It's like, I'm so glad we don't have these problems that they have.
No.
But we're careful about who we let in our society. They all got to be servants of the greater good.
Right.
In other words, they got to be willing to do the right thing when no one's watching. They serve the greater good before their own greater good, in the sense that they'll help somebody else. And if they don't have that in their heart, then we're gonna in other words, that the energy of the person is important to the team.
Yes.
And because we all need to function as a healthy group.
Yeah.
And I emphasize the word healthy.
Yeah.
It's important. Even doing this work, it's for us, like we do, we make efforts to go to church.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, any love and light denomination is fine.
Right. And then especially when it comes to me being a demonologist, I got to keep up that spirituality. You have to have that connection plugging to God. There are things that we don't do. We don't provoke. We don't like Ouija boards. We don't endorse them. When it comes to spirits, and a lot of people, see shows on TV and they think that's how it is. And then you get these fly-by-night people that'll go in and they'll provoke just to get a piece of proof, and then they'll leave either the business owner or the family member in a worse situation than they were before these people showed up. And then another thing you have to, from the spirit end of it, is a lot of these spiritual entities that we come across were once alive. So, when we go in to do these investigations, we'll do like EVP sessions or ghost box sessions. We'll introduce ourselves by names.
Right.
We'll explain why we're there. We'll explain that the equipment that we're using is not to hurt them and that we don't want to make them mad or upset.
Yeah, it's important how you engage yourself and how you approach the situation. We had someone just last week, a husband and wife that came in, and she brought her husband in. She wanted a paranormal investigation done. Had a really old piece of property, a lot going on, a lot of history. But he was concerned that we were going to come in, just like what you see on TV.
Right.
Where they come in and start provoking, and then they just take off and leave the family to deal with the problem. And so her bringing him in was to assure him that we are not going to do that. And we don't do that.
No.
So, in that case, everything is good. Everything works out.
Right. When it comes to spirits too, and you have to watch what kind of questions you ask them, because as everybody knows in this field, not all of them may realize that they're dead. So if you're coming into these places asking, how did you die? Did you die by this? Did you die by that?
I mean, how cruel is
that? You're not going to get a response. And if you do, it's most likely not going to be a happy one. And then with provoking is going to get you nowhere, because then that could get, things happening to you, like you can be pushed or you could be scratched. With provoking, it's not smart and it's not safe. One, because when it's not a human spirit, when it's an inhuman spirit, they're 12 times worse than a human spirit.
Yes, they are, and they're more powerful.
And when it comes to anything inhuman, they can take days, weeks, months before they react. But you're always going to get something, even if it's a negative, inhuman entity.
We are not far out.
It's not a good idea to go in a place and do that. We had there's something else to be said for acknowledging the entities in general. Like, we had a case where we went in and we did the investigation, and through the end, the report was that there were two kids, right? They would sleep in the same room, two girls, and like they would see a person standing at the edge of their bed watching them. Never attacked them or anything, but it creeped them out. several times it happened. And so that's why we were called in, right? Because the kids are seeing this person every so often standing at their bed, and it creeps them out. So
I have to interrupt you. I'm so sorry.
Marshall?
We are hitting this perfectly, right? So, so this is going to be a little 3-minute break, and we will be right back.
You are listening to WPHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk radio.
And we're back, and Kevin is going to pick up where I had to so rudely interrupt him. Sorry, Kevin.
No, that's quite all right. Okay, so I was talking about, to recap, we had called in, there was a couple girls that every so often they would see this guy standing at the end of their bed when they were sleeping, and it would scare them. So we were called in, and as we're doing the investigation throughout the night, we had this, we explain, like Jennifer said, why we're there and what's going on. And we said, I don't know if you know this or not, but these girls, they can see you sometimes and it scares them. Could you please not do that? Because it's scaring them. And then you go on with the investigation and everything else. And we had, so the investigation was over, and then we always say, give us a couple weeks to go through everything. And so when it came time to talk to her again, the first thing she said is, she goes, "What did you guys do?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? We didn't do anything." She goes, "Oh, what did you do? I haven't had any issue or any problem at all since you guys were here. They haven't seen him. There's been no issue. What did you? We were just wondering what you did." It's like, well, we didn't do a liberation or a cleansing or even a blessing. No home deliverance, no exorcism, nothing like that. Okay. All we did is All we did is really acknowledge the problem,
right,
and approach it in a respectful manner. And we later learned, or I should say in the process of, well, it was later. It was where we learned the identity of the entity. And it was the guy who built the place and lived in there, and he had died in that house.
Oh.
And from what we found out, he was well liked, and the community liked him. And so we came to the conclusion between that and various impressions and everything that, yes, you had activity in your house, and everything is pointing to that this is the former owner of the property who is just here, and he's keeping an eye on it, and he hasn't hurt anybody, hasn't done anything wrong. He's just just doing his thing, and while you guys are doing your thing, and so we didn't do anything, but we did do something.
Yeah, we
and it worked out well. So
right, we were able to contact him that night during Ghost Box session, and when we introduced ourselves, we asked what his name, and the name Ed came through the box loud and clear, and that's when we explained what was going on. So yeah, I mean, it's like Kevin said, all we had to do was acknowledge it and explain, and then now all is well at the house. He's still there. He doesn't show up anymore. They will hear him everywhere now and then, but that's about it.
Yeah, he's not just standing there watching people sleep anymore, and that's
No, I think what it comes down to is he's watching over the home, and he's watching over that particular family.
Yeah, otherwise you don't have, and they said we don't have a problem if he's here, just as long as he doesn't do anything to disrupt their daily life.
Right.
So, there you go.
Well, that's sometimes all anybody needs is a little acknowledgement and explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's to me, like, the two most important words in the paranormal is intent and perception.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What we perceive, and of course the intent we have that we apply. And you'll find that a lot of times what people apply totally correlates with what they end up perceiving. And, we noticed, too, that with a lot of these calls we get, especially with the malevolent ones, because Jennifer being a demonologist, people will call specifically thinking that they have, that going on. A lot of them will tell you how they got it, or they think they know how they got it. I did this, I did that, I was doing this, I participated in that, I belonged to this, they'll tell you when they open that door, but now they're just trying to get it shut and they can't.
Right. Do you find that it is almost always an action rather than an intent, or is it both?
I think the action is totally relevant.
Yeah.
But the intent is what got them there.
Yeah.
Many times.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not so much that they're looking to do evil, but that they're just like
they're curious.
They're ignoring their spirituality.
Right.
Or their connection with God or anything like that. Right. They're like, I'm having this horrible spiritual problem. It's like, what's your spiritual relation like? I don't have one. It's like, well, that's gonna have to be the first thing that gets addressed before anything else.
Yeah.
Because this is a spiritual battle. There's a reason it's called spiritual warfare.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
You do have the other side of the spectrum, or you do have people that dabble in stuff that they shouldn't. most likely the occult, and then, you know, they